I'm Mercury, and I'm here with yet another video. However, this is unlike all my other videos. I know last week I promised a new dragon, but sadly I can't do it this week. Because I finished my creature sheet and I had all the recordings for making the creature sheet, but the next morning I decided to reopen my Chromebook, and my profile on this Chromebook completely hard reset everything. In summary, all the drawings that I made for the past 2 years are now completely gone. I'm still working on trying to get some of these things back, but the video will be delayed. I'm hoping to post it sometime September 1st is when it's going to be posted next, hopefully. But if you couldn't tell, I'm actually recording all of my drawings done digitally, and I'm actually recording this on my phone because, well, I'm still waiting for things to get recovered. Again, sorry about that, but anyway, it's time to get back to your not scheduled programming. So back in 2023, I did a lot of research on dragons, different types of dragons, their lore, and most importantly, how they were physically depicted. And while I don't follow the descriptions word for word, I took the base structure of these dragons to make a taxonomical sheet for them. I don't know much about taxonomy at the time, so I messed up with my original concept, but I did make some more sciencey names for them and tried to make some categories within taxonomy. So that's what we're gonna talk about, taxonomy. But don't worry, this is gonna be the cliff notes of what you could possibly need to know about taxonomy. There are 8 layers in taxonomy. It's also called the tree of life. From top to bottom, the categories go non-specific to super-specific. Highest is domain, then kingdom, then phylum, then class, then order, then family, then genus, then lastly species. I also want to bring up binomial nomenclature, aka how scientifics are made. Each scientific name is made out of 2 words. The first name is the genus, and the last is the species. For example, gray wolves are Canis lupus, coyotes are Canis latris, and jackals are Canis aureus. And the red fox is Vulpes vulpes, because it's not a part of the genus Canis. Also, fun fact, dogs are Canis lupus familiaris because they are a domesticated subspecies of the gray wolf. Now it's time to apply to the aspects of taxonomy that I'm using for fantasy dragons. The first 3 are easy. Domain was eukarya, aka cells that contain a nucleus, organisms of cells that have a nucleus. The next was animalia, anything that is considered animals, which is a lot of features that go into this. And the next we have chordata. In simple terms, having a notochord. What's a notochord? I will call it the pre-spine. And this is where I started making everything up. Under chordata, we have Agatha, Corycidites, Ursidites, sorry, I cannot pronounce these, amphibia, reptilia, aves, mammalia, aka fish, even more fish, amphibians, reptiles, birds, and mammals. Some people would put dragons under reptiles, which is fair, but most dragons don't actually fit into reptilia, mainly because they don't have softer, leathery shelled eggs, which would put them under birds, and birds have feathers and not scales. So that means dragons are its own category. Yes, I know, not all dragons have scales, and some of them can have feathers. It's another reason why dragons are their own class, called Dragconia. I decided to make the traits under it that they lay hard-shelled eggs, they are mostly cold-blooded, they have tough skin and or scales, they have jaws. Also, a side note, being cold-blooded or warm-blooded is actually a spectrum, but it's a base descriptors for these categories that are still used in science. So now let's talk order. I will not get into the things past order because that can vary wildly, greatly. Now, I may sound really smart and like I know what I'm doing, but this is actually over a year-long project that I stopped working on it because it was a lot. But hey, I got it worked out, so now you don't have to if you're half as insane as I am. I decided to personally separate the dragons into 9 orders. But before I start, these are categories I made. This isn't how all people interpret the dragons I will specifically name. Since the dragons, at least the ones often seen in fiction, aren't real and therefore can be interpreted in any way, With that said, wyverns are dragons. No ifs, ands, or buts. These are dragons. They aren't Western dragons. They aren't Asian dragons, but they are dragons. Understood? Alright. Now, most people are sane and think I'm weird for bringing this up, but some people say, well, actually, wyverns are dragons because, yes, I'm a nerd too, but at least I'm not as insufferable. Well, anyway, the first up is worm. Again, this is a common interpretation, and my interpretation is that worms are legless, armless, and wingless dragons, aka they're like big snakes, big worms even. So the first order is wormus. All dragons that don't have any limbs, like sea serpents and the Aztec god Quetzalcoatl, though he is sometimes depicted with wings. Next, we have drakes, or the order Dracae, dragons with 4 or more legs and no wings, like most of the Asian dragons, aka lung dragons. There's also basilisks, aka these 8-legged guys, and the quillin, not to be confused with the kirin. There's even the Tarrasque, not that Tarrasque, the French one. Next, at the top of my triangle are 2 dragons, the Xylan and the Guivir, or Xilian and Vuivir, aka 2 front legs and wings and 2 back legs and wings. And what? Where is the beloved wyvern that is famous for having 2 back legs and being a winged dragon? Where did this random French dragon come from? Well, they came from France, and they are right there. See? Wyvern. The most notable feature about a wyvern is actually their tail. You see, wyverns are known for having a venomous barb or spike or something at the end of their tail to inject venom. Guivirs don't. They are commonly in lore spit poison, venom, though, but I'm not getting into that. And look, it's my favorite dragon, the chicken one. Love me a cockatrice. So with that, our 4 dragon points are done. The 4 primary dragons, if we will. But we have 5 more. Between worm and drake, we have Tetzelworm and Lindworm, or Tetzelwormus and Lithowormus, aka 2 back legs, no wings, and 2 front legs and no wings. Lindworms are actually pretty well known, and I love them because the little guy chasing you through the woods via crawling is kind of terrifying, and I love him for it. And Tatzelworm, it was a stretch to put them at the head of this category because I found 3 drawings that put the Tatzelworm there. And I mean, Tatzelworm, Lindworm, you can see the connection, but the Tatzelworm actually comes from Ketzelworm, which literally means cat-faced dragon. But hey, sometimes when the world doesn't give you the dragon you need, you steal a dragon instead and rip off some pieces. Perfect, isn't it? Next, we have the moment you've been waiting for. The Draken. What's that? Well, it's the Western dragon, but with a different name. Or the Draconium, if you prefer. Or 4 or more legs and wings. But seriously, look at all these dragons. I'm not letting Western dragons be a bit more dragon than all the other dragons. But besides the big bad Western dragons, we have things like Knuckers, Priostasia, and Fairy dragons. And no, I'm not spelling that wrong. There's 7 different ways to spell it. But now, we are on the last outside of the dragon triangle. There is the Amphitheer or Pythier, aka no legs and has wings. But wait, that's only 8 dragon orders. What about the 9th? Well, you remember this little Triforce thing I was drawing earlier with no explanation? Well, I'm talking about it now. There are 4 categories of things here if you haven't noticed. Split in half vertically, we have 4 or more legs and no legs, and we have horizontally, it's wings and no wings. So what else do I put in the center but the Hydra? Because paper is in 2D and I can't 3D this right now. The Hydra, which there are 2 Hydra and half depictions of the Hydra. First is the Greek, the Lyrinian Hydra, aka snake boy with lots of heads. heads are the wormest hydra. The worm one. Then we got the hydra that randomly now has legs. I have no idea where you came from, but you are here. I call it the Drakest hydra. And then, last but not least, it's kind of a hydra, the Zemi, winged hydra. It's good depicted with multiple heads, but what else was I supposed to do? So in summary, my categories are Wormus, Draki, Vivir, Zillian, Lithe-Wormus, Tatzelwormus, Draconim, Pythir, and Hydra. If you enjoyed this, even the slightest bit, thank you a lot. I do make video qualities with slightly better audio. This was on crunch time, so hey. But I'm here. I post every week. See you next time with a better video.